calling Eric's Hour of Enlightenment.
Hello again. It's another Tuesday, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there are holed up in your house getting cabin fever. But we're going to dispel a lot of anxiety here today, and this is like totally impromptu because Allan Varah and I have been talking, and Denise Ramon, hi Denise, about the astrology behind the COVID-19. But first, I want to just tell you that that what we're going to talk about is the more that Allan says, the more we can comprehend our spiritual intention, the easier it is to find alignment in the physical realm. And he's going to break down all the signs and indications that provide clarity on why you're here and what it is you are meant to accomplish. And a lot of people get depressed, spiritually depressed, and out of sorts because they just, why am I here? You know, they don't really know why they're here. So, Allan, you want to tell anything else about yourself?
I've been on this path for a number of years. I actually was kind of in spiritual denial for much of my 20s and 30s, and eventually I came into an acceptance of really what it was that I was here to do. So it took me a long time to figure it out myself, and so I'm really quite compassionate, and I always suggest people be patient with their own journey because it's not always that clear. It can take a long time.
Yeah.
And if you're
awesome.
if you're searching, eventually you will find what it is that you're here to do. And I can give a lot of ideas and some clarity around how the whole mechanism works and to help you move to that state where it becomes clear for you.
Yeah, and you've created these natal charts to help illuminate the path for so many people and couples. That's very important. We had an awesome YouTube that I posted, was it yesterday? About relationships and the astrological signs and how they relate, etc. You guys, I'm going to say it again at the end, but you guys write this down, get a pen and paper, or write it on your forearm. I don't care. It's AllanVarah.com, AllanVarah. Of course, Denise Ramon is at DeniseRamon.com. All right, so we were talking about the predictions astrologically for the COVID, and I what you said was just amazing. So could you repeat that? Share it with the class.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, astrology speaks to the energy that is governing a lot of the events on the planet. It also governs our own feelings and our emotions. It certainly governs the chemistry between people. And so what the astrology is actually speaking to, you can use it for on a very personal level, like how am I going to feel this week or month, or who am I compatible with? But you can also use it at a national or even a planetary level, which is to say, what are the events energetically that are influencing our planet? And if you have something like a pandemic, you can start to look at the various transits and say, okay, well, when can we expect the energy to start to influence the pandemic? And so the energy has been challenging, actually, to say the least, for quite some time, as we've been experiencing. The most severe period astrologically there was actually Mars was in conjunction with Pluto, which put another way is just incredibly intense and incredibly problematic, but it's transformational type. It's conflict, destruction, and transformation is that kind of energy all wrapped in one. And that transit was from March 18th right up until yesterday.
Wow.
And so those 5 days were the most intense period that we could have experienced. It doesn't mean that the virus goes away afterwards. It certainly doesn't mean that, we can take our foot off the pedal, so to speak. We have to keep an eye on this thing because there will be more infections and more fatalities. But the fear, the anxiety, all the low vibrational energy that we were all feeling with this sense of unknowingness, which was kind of coursing around the country last week and into early this week, has since reached its peak, its crest, and now will actually persist but weaken as the week moves along. And astrologically, we'll start to see some transformational energy, which will bring about a whole new approach, actually, to how we deal with the virus and affect us on a more personal level, typically in a very beneficial capacity, the first week of April. So just to kind of recap, tough 5 days had passed, a lot of uncertainty leading into it, tough 5 day stretch, that stretch now has run its course. We kind of muddle through the rest of this week and into early April, really the very 1st of April, we'll start to see some notable changes in our own approach.
All right, so that makes sense because we just found out that there's a company that has gotten approval for the 45-minute COVID-19 at-home test that everyone is going to have for free. And this is what they did with South Korea. I don't think it was 45 minutes. But anyway, you take the test, even if you're asymptomatic, and if you test positive, you stay at home. Everybody else that's negative, work. And that could really turn things around. So that might be what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so something like that would be a brilliant example of it, which is the ability to actually know, because there's so many people that are non-symptomatic even though they have it, and so they're obviously kept in self-quarantine. But there's also, I imagine at some point we'll get another test that will actually indicate the people that have overcome it, that never even had symptoms or had mild symptoms and didn't realize that it was COVID, and they're actually now with the antibodies, and that leaves them protected, and they can go about their life and not live in fear of contracting it.
Yes, that's awesome.
And so those kind of developments, that would speak to really both of those tests would be a great example of it. Potentially new medications or the application of available medications to help reduce the severity of it. All of that is really what we're speaking to that will come out and over the next week or so leading into April.
Oh,
so
that's great.
It's a very quick transition astrologically. Unfortunately, this thing does stick around until the end of the year. The vaccine or any type of true cure is probably much later. It astrologically doesn't show it just disappearing, so to speak, but it does show some notable advancements right on the fringe here.
Right. And, hopefully we'll also have at-home tests for influenza so we can stop so many people from, dying of influenza A, influenza B, et cetera. So where do you see, can you use astrology to sort of track the financial markets, like the Dow? It's like, can you determine, wow, it looks like the low might be around, or it could be, or it's at risk of being, or most likely at such and such?
Yeah. So there is actually a guy, he's a very strong astrologer who also had a background in finance, and he does have a newsletter that does exactly that. And he has an interesting track record. There's famous anecdotes how like J.P. Morgan 100 years ago used to consult with a well-known astrologer in New York before making considerable financial decisions. So there have been certainly cases where astrology has played into finance. I personally don't do it, but yes, it can be used to try to predict any event because it's energy that governs our decisions, our behavior, the idea of buying and selling, which is, fear and greed and all the different emotions that course through it and trying to, outsmart the guy next to you. That is all heavily influenced by the energy around us.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. I think my husband mentioned he has some newsletter from an astrologer. What's the guy's name?
I could dig it up. I looked into it briefly.
It's okay.
And
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
I
dig
can
it
figure
up.
it out for you. But
that's cool.
But remember, and you got to keep in mind, like astrology is brilliant, and I absolutely love it. But it is just one more tool in your toolbox.
Exactly.
And so,
exactly.
Yeah, and that's really a lot of what when people start to get past astrology, like to be able to predict somebody's life and their compatibilities and their decisions. It's very powerful. But then eventually a lot of people will start to ask how it's possible. Like what's really happening? Why would the day that you're born dictate your compatibility with somebody else based on the day that they're born? Or how can you start to predict if you'll have children or if you're going to have financial problems? And when you start to get past that, when you say, okay, well, it's an amazing tool, but it's kind of curious like how it's actually happening, that's when the mind starts to go into that state of to desire more, to understand it deeper. And then you start to realize that astrology is kind of like a teaser that kind of draws you into the spiritual space, because as you go deeper and deeper into it, more and more answers become available to you, not just on things like compatibility, but more like the intention for why you're even here. Like what is it that you're here to accomplish? What's your purpose?
And that's the topic for the day. But I will say one thing before you start is like Allan did my chart and Eric's chart, and oh my gosh, the results were just stunning, jaw-dropping. And I think you said that you and I had very similar charts, right?
We have similar energy.
Insofar
as so sometimes there's similar charts, like the objective for the life is the same, and sometimes the energy, which is really just speaking of chemistry or compatibility, is very similar. So you and I have very similar compatibility, meaning the way we approach life, the energy, our ability to get along would be like automatic when you have matching chemistry or matching energy. And
that's awesome.
that's what we share. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Oh, we're Twinkies. I love that. Okay, so I've always felt a good connection with you anyway. So, all right, let's talk about the alignment of the spiritual intention with the physical realm. Yeah.
So, I would preface it by saying that you're not supposed to know. Meaning, we arrive here and we end up passing through really three main veils. There's different veils, but you hear that sometimes when you go into your spiritual space that you're piercing the veil is a common expression, or thinning the veil. And really what that is that there's a veil that we pass through, which is designed for us to have a very unique experience while we're in this density, this realm. But the veil is the veil of confusion, it's the veil of forgetting, and it's the veil of illusion.
Yeah.
And so what's the veil of confusion? Well, the veil of confusion is that when you've left the spirit realm to incarnate onto Earth, you have absolutely no understanding of the workings of the universe, the higher consciousness and the infinite source, and all the other energies at play that are influencing your path. You just have absolutely no awareness of it. You've gone through a veil of confusion. But you've also gone through this veil of forgetting, which is you don't remember your past life, and you don't remember why you even chose to come here. And then you're also going through the third veil, which is the veil of illusion, which many people still have, which is the belief that this physical realm is all there is, right? And you still have people that right, and that manifests often badly when somebody takes things so seriously because they think that, like, this is it. Like, I got one life to live. I've just got to get it right here, and my status, my wealth, my whatever it is so incredibly important to me because they're completely consumed by that illusion, that belief that this is all there will ever be is the physical realm. And so we pass through those three veils, and we venture, for some of us, not all, but many of us will be called to try to figure out how to live our best life without any clear roadmap of how to get there. And it's almost like sitting at a poker table where you don't even realize that you're at a poker table, but you have these hands being dealt to you and you have no idea what everybody else is holding, and you have to do your best to play those cards each time. And those cards are constantly changing, and you've never played poker before, and you're trying to learn on the fly, and all the while everybody else around you is doing something similar. And that is the physical realm. That's this third density.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. So when you say we pass through, pass through these three veils, is that what an evolving soul looks like? Is that soul's evolution? Is that, what makes us pass through those things?
So think about our home being in the spirit realm or the astral plane, which is the closest non-physical plane. And in that realm, we have total, that's where Eric is, for example, we have total understanding of how it all works. We know all of our past lives. We know of the decisions we made, the things that worked, the things that didn't, right? We just have full clarity on how this whole mechanism works. But we can't affect change. We can't affect change there. We can't actually evolve. We can learn, but we can't evolve. And so to evolve, we end up incarnating into a physical body, and we take on this form, but we do it through these different veils to see how capable we are of actually executing on our plan, which is what we came here to do.
Right.
And so the easiest example of this, which has been around now for thousands of years, is Christ's incarnation. He had a very explicit intention, and he nailed it. Like, he wanted to raise consciousness. He wanted to stand up for the little guy. He wanted to break down some of the constructs in the religious space, which was being misapplied at the time. And he came with this belief that he could incarnate and be kind of a beacon of hope, represent, source, and go forth with a very relatively impactful short life. And then he went to an extreme. He's like, I'm even going to die for the cause. But he came with that intention, and he awakened while here, and he knew exactly what it was that he needed to do. And so, of course, the disciples wrote about it. You've got the Gospels to reflect on it, and that became Christ's life. There have been many who have incarnated and have had similar experiences, but just not obviously as famous. But they've also been able to go ahead and do exactly what it is that they came to do. And in doing so, they've evolved and they've influenced and they've grown through the experience, as you can here in the physical realm. Okay? And so that's the name of the game, is that you're growing and I'm growing. And certainly Eric came with an incarnation and a path, and he was growing, and Denise is growing, and even our families and everybody around us are doing the best they can with the hands that they're dealt. And some people will wake up and they'll realize that they're really just actors on a stage, and they're just kind of playing a part. And they'll wake up and they'll say, you know what? I don't have to play the part that I've been cast to play. I actually have control over the decisions I make, and I can take responsibility for those outcomes. And I can now move forward.
Too hard, Allan.
I know, it's the tough stuff, but you can start taking ownership for your life. You become the author of your own book, and you're like, where do I want the next chapter to take me?
Yeah.
Right? And that starts to move into the state of greater consciousness or awareness, where you start to break down some of the limitations that maybe you have been imposed upon you by some of the people you've incarnated with or the society around you. And that's the most beautiful part about this third density, this earthly realm, is that we're given incredible amounts of courage. We get bravery. We have all sorts of emotions. There's fear and anxiety and low vibrational energy, but there's also the incredible ability to transcend that and to go on to do something really empowering, something beautiful, with having a family, raising children, pursuing a career, traveling the world. All that becomes available to us based on our own determination to maximize this incarnation.
Okay.
And so how does it all work? Well, tools like astrology are great because they tell you specifically, like, what areas are you trying to work on, what are the weaknesses, where are the blocking spots, where there's going to be conflict. So it gives you a big leg up, if you will, because it's indicating the energy that you carried into the life. But a lot of these kind of discussions,
it's not going to do everything for you, right? I mean, it's not.
It's not going to. It's not intended to do. It's like it's a wonderful, wonderful tool of self-awareness. But then you still have to kind of make good on it. I can tell you almost.
It's kind of like a map, right? GPS. That's
right? it. Like Saturn in the second house speaks to somebody who's like a real penny pincher who's always worried about money, and not in a bad way. They just can't stop thinking about it. But it shows them that they carry that energy into this life with the intention of overcoming that almost when money has a hold on you, when you're thinking about it so often that it becomes this compulsion. And so once you grow aware of it, you realize how it's dominating so many of your decisions and maybe has you hobbled because you don't have the courage, because you're fearful of what it's going to cost you or what have you. Then you start to see how it's manifesting in your life and your relationships, and you can now move beyond it. And that's what astrology is so brilliant at, is giving you an opportunity for self-awareness and then to move beyond it.
That's so amazing.
And that shows up a lot in relationship dynamics as well. It certainly shows up in family dynamics, like who gets along with who and why.
Yeah, so do you do Vedic or Hindu or, there's so many types of astrology, right?
Well, and that's the interesting part. It's a 5,000-year-old study, and yet it's sprung up all over the world separately. Like the Chinese came up with their own astrology, the Indian, which is Vedic astrology, came up with their own, the Western astrology, Middle Eastern astrology. They all popped up in different centuries with different cultures, orienting slightly differently based on how they were observing the night sky.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and that's why Vedic astrology is designed for the Indian subcontinent. and it's wonderful, but predominantly for the Indian culture. Like when people, even when an Indian is born here in the U.S., for example, or in Europe, they generally like to gravitate towards Caribbean or Western astrology.
Really? Okay.
And they're just, yeah. And so it's just, and so what I love about Western astrology is it tells you these placements, but it's not like a life sentence. It's simply telling you energetically what you brought into this life.
Yeah, what your propensity is, the potential. But you have all the power you need inside, and you can make the decisions with that as a guidance. Sometimes, in your GPS says the rest of, the next 20 miles is not is unknown territory, and so I guess that plays a part in all this too.
It does.
So,
and so think of it this way. You can say that there are qualities that you brought in and you didn't even realize that you had them, and then you go into like your own introspective work, and astrology helps. You're like, holy crap, like I really do that. You start to see it more. You start to see more clearly, and you can say either it's a quality that I don't care for, so I'm going to figure out ways to go ahead and the word is transcend it, which is to move through or beyond it. Or you can say, you know what, it's not the most pleasant quality, but it's a part of me, and I accept me, and I'm actually at peace with it.
Well,
right?
Let me ask you
and
this.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right,
you know me, Elisa. If you don't, I'll just keep talking. I've got to leave
I know,
for a minute.
because
It just
you
doesn't
so
really
much.
want to. It never wants to be quiet.
I love it. You have so much. I mean, we could have dozens of sessions together. So this kind of makes you, not forces you to, but encourages emotional honesty, to be emotionally honest with yourself about your propensities and all that stuff. Do you give spiritual guidance to people who are at that crossroad? Well, I found from my chart that I am an asshole. Allan, help me, or whatever. Or I got a problem with money. Or do you know? Or are there people who do, like astrological spiritual counselors?
Yeah, and that's really that's what I love most. There's nothing wrong with doing like a one-off natal chart reading, but for me, it's really just a starting point. I love working with somebody who really wants to go deep into it and actually try to transform through it. Right? Because there are a lot of astrologers that will just kind of regale or entertain you with a quick reading. But for me, to take what you learn and then to actually apply the necessary tools to say, okay, now that I know or understand this to be, where do I go from here?
Yeah. No, I knew that about you,
be,
but I just wanted to feign ignorance so I could bring it up. But that's so powerful.
Thanks for that. Perfect.
Because you know what?
That's the best.
Yeah, it's like aligning all the four roommates, like Eric says, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and the physical bodies.
Bingo.
And
that's it.
Well, like you say here, they have to all be aligned if you want to really, truly be your authentic self on your authentic path. Or am I not right about that?
You can't sit on the chair if one of the legs is faulty.
Exactly.
Right. So if you're emotion, I usually say like a three-legged stool because they say mental, emotional is kind of the same. But yeah, if your mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual health are out of kilter, it doesn't matter if the other three are amazing, but if one of them is terribly flawed, something will always feel out of alignment. Something will always keep you really unbalanced or oftentimes really unhappy.
Yeah.
And,
well, what's special about what you do is that, a regular old psychologist, whatever, they'll deal with, my mom was mean to me and she wished I was never, whatever, and those kind of things. But this goes so much deeper.
This is the opposite. Yeah. No, I mean, and a lot of the time, because if you understand that you incarnated and chose your family and you had those struggles, but that was part of a destiny oftentimes that was determined prior to getting here. And so a lot of those struggles are actually designed to empower you to actually overcome it so that you could go on to something more meaningful in life.
Yeah.
And you know what? You see it all and so you see it all the time. Kids that are like way too overprivileged with these really, kind of these very lavish, very gentle upbringings. They either underachieve or they wind up with the self-esteem issues, and they feel like, they haven't really found their identity. It's a very common manifestation of too much, right? Whereas the people that I've witnessed that have accomplished the most in their life are the ones that also overcame the greatest adversity.
I know. You're so right. And I remember Annika, my youngest, she volunteered in Peru, and she was so struck by how impoverished these people. She worked in a little clinic in the rural areas. I mean, nobody had shoes, for example, but they were so happy.
But they're not broke.
Really happy.
Yeah, well, that's it. They're not the victim of their poverty, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's not to say that they enjoy being impoverished, but it is to say that they're not held back by it. They're still doing what they can.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. Do we allow our circumstances to be the shackles that bind us, or do we take responsibility for all that we possibly can so that we move beyond our circumstances and find our joy and fulfillment?
So really we need to struggle to evolve. We need adversity to find our path and our authentic self, right? Always? Or can we just read cliff notes or whatever?
So in theory, definitely not always. There are definitely some beings that show up and they just have clarity on why they're here, and the struggle is not necessary.
Because maybe in other lives they have. They probably struggled in other lives.
Yeah, there are spiritual beings that have already reached that point of would be enlightenment, which is the final stage on their journey, and they come back specifically so that they can be a beacon of hope and raise consciousness for others. And so those people, those will have an immediate, usual spiritual awakening at a very young age without the suffering. But that's a very rare occasion. The rest of us are typically going to be put to task on a constant basis because of our suffering. And I can tell you, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So, and I can tell you, because this is where it gets, I believe, more profound, is that suffering, because the universe operates on a relative basis, like Einstein had proven relativity governs the universe. But another way of saying that is polarity, which is to say that we can only experience light because we know what it's like to be in the dark. And we can only experience, right? We can only experience love because we can also experience fear. They all exist as opposite ends on the same spectrum. And so the soul itself is incarnating through its cycles, and as it's moving through its cycles, it is suffering, and it's being given an opportunity to choose what polarity it wants to move towards. Yeah. And as it relates to the soul, the polarity is: do I want, through my suffering, do I need to take care of myself more, oftentimes at the expense of others because I'm suffering so badly, or is my suffering making me more compassionate, and I actually want to help others who are likewise suffering?
Yeah, it's a fine balance, because the whole thing, and you have to put on your own oxygen mask before you put on your child. So I mean, you have to attend to the self, and
absolutely,
and it needs first as a foundation before you can really help other people.
And so you can still be wonderfully in devotion or dedication to others without sacrificing your own well-being, and that's the perfect harmony of it. But I will tell you, and it's a brilliant example of what's been happening, is when you go to the supermarket and you see all the hoarding that's been going on, and this is without any judgment. Like, I'm only saying it from a standpoint of observation. So those that are riddled with fear and anxiety, they may not even be thinking clearly. They're just like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm never going to be able to leave my home. I have to get, and I have a lot of compassion for that fear. But there are a lot of others. There are a lot of others that are like, some of them are opportunistic. They're like, I'm going to buy a lot of hand sanitizer and try to sell it for $1 gazillion.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
Right.
But I mean, I guess I'm human, because when I saw on the news this guy with the whole basket filled with toilet paper, I kind of got like, what makes you think your asshole is more important than ours? So I'm sorry if it's just the way I was. Speaking of, I will say along the line of assholes, I'm going to digress a little bit. I just read that there's something about Uranus, and that's how Eric wants me to pronounce it, implicates a possible recession. but you don't have to answer that. I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, well,
because it's funny.
So Uranus is transiting Taurus, and there's Taurus is the sign of stability, consistency, and predictability. It's the most stubborn sign of the zodiac. Uranus hates boredom and it hates predictability. And so when the planet of Uranus, which is an 8-year transit, only got there last year, but when the planet of Uranus enters into Taurus, all the structure and consistency that we've grown accustomed to is in play for change, for adjustment.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I see that happening. But, it's so funny how we do need... Yeah, no, you're about to say something important, I can tell.
Yeah, so as other planets move... So Uranus being an 8-year transit it's going to be in that space for a long time. As other faster-moving planets transit over it, it's almost like the fuse gets lit, and it kicks off another cycle or another change. And that will happen on a regular basis with various intervals over the course of the 8 years. And so we obviously Corona and the stock market collapse and everything else. That would be a very and actually Taurus is banking because Taurus loves to control the money, and so the transit would have kicked off. I mean, there's a particularly punishing. You look at the financial implications of what's happening, but also the mortgages and all these large investments, these various securities that have been so stable and consistent for so many years, have found great dislocation, and they've really started to struggle. Yeah.
Well, I'm still going to say Uranus because that's the way I roll. I'm not going to say Uranus.
Perfect.
But Denise is in the financial sector, so I'm sure she's like really lapping this up, huh, Denise?
I am. Yes, and I'm just seeing how I find it fascinating.
It's so fascinating, and you are so brilliant, Allan.
Oh, thank you. I love this subject.
Yeah, obviously, clearly, and it too. But so we need the contrast, but here on this side of the veil, we bitch and moan. On the other side, it's like, oh my God, I want to go back. It's so weird.
So we bitch and moan until we come to terms with why we're here and realize that for starters, you have to be somewhere doing something. Like, why not be here, right?
Yeah.
So you just feel like, but then you go one step further and you say, wait a second, we may not understand it because we went through the veil of forgetting, but we actually chose. Like, this was what we thought was in our best interest. We chose to be here.
Exactly.
And then you say, well, if we chose to be here, are we fulfilling the reasons that we chose to be here? Are we maximizing this incarnation? Are we making good on it? Because I can tell you, right, there are people that will get to the end of their life and they will reflect back with unbelievable amounts of regret because they only ever worked, or they never took any chances in love, or they never managed to accomplish anything they wanted to do because they were riddled with fear of judgment. And they look back and like, geez, that was not a good life. It wasn't fulfilled. But then there are other people that along the way can be fully present, really in the moment, and they can feel like they've got their gifts and their talents and they're bringing them to the surface, and they're really living in that present. And they get to the end of life and they're like, man, I don't want to leave. That was a good one.
Wow. Okay, so that's you, the light worker that you are. This is what you help people with. You help them not be the first example. You help them become the second example. And that's very powerful.
As much as possible. But that all is a journey with self, which is, if I'm the captain of this ship, right, I'm responsible for everything. If I sail into troubled waters, then I take responsibility for it. If I'm in, under blue skies and smooth sailing, well, I get to bathe in that sun. Like, that's my good deed, And then it's usually, if I'm in a good space, how can I help others? Because that's where a lot of fulfillment comes from.
Yeah,
and so,
but you could be their rudder. You could be their rudder with the services, the one-on-one, spiritual counseling services you offer. All right, I hope you guys got a pen or pencil out because it's AllanVarah.com, AllanVarah.com. Is there anything else you want to say before we take questions from callers, Allan?
No, I'm a chatty Cathy. I usually keep going.
Oh, you need to be a regular guest. I swear. I really think you should be a regular guest, but of course that's up to you. All right, so
yeah, I'd love to be a regular guest. We have a bit of a time difference, so I had to. Yeah,
I know.
It'd be great, especially. Yeah, it's okay, and that's the only. It's good because I stayed up late these last few nights to make sure I had a little bit of energy for the call. But yeah, I would love to be a regular guest, and I love the idea of callers, even if they call in multiple times, because we can give them all sorts of advice and see it's quick, but see if they have an opportunity to implement any of it.
Absolutely. So some of the financial advisors, astrologers, Raj Shadra, Mahedra Sharma, David Williams, Chandresh Mehta. Do you remember if it's Indian or there's Susan Goodell?
There was one. No, he was an American guy. He was an anomaly. He was really. He'd been at it since the 70s. He had predicted a whole bunch of market cycles.
Oh my God, is he dead?
I don't know. Because I read his stuff a couple years ago. I think it was the Crawford report. I'll find it for you, Elisa, and we can follow up with it.
Yeah, but hey, he could have died of corona. You never know. No, I hope not. Anyway, so all right, let's take it to the callers. You guys can ask questions of my lovely boy Eric, or of course, Allan Varah. So here we go. I'm going to unmute the first person. Hi there. How are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hi, everybody. Yes, I can. This is Dee. I love you all so much, and I really appreciate your time.
Sure.
The astrology reading that you're sharing is interesting because I'm a Taurus, and so is my daughter. And,
me too.
Nice. So you could feel it. It's exhausting, actually, but I'm staying above it. I was wondering, is there a possibility this evening either Eric or anyone could reach out to one of my grandparents on the other side?
Who would that be? What's their first name?
I mean, the one that's always dominant is Stanley, my grandfather, or my grandmother, Lena.
Yeah, Stanley's here.
Oh, I knew it.
Because I got right away grandfather. I don't feel like he was this dominant when he was here, but he really has a lot of wisdom to share. And that's why he always shows up like this, because I don't know how he was here, but it's almost like you're eager to hear what he has to say, or people are eager to hear from him, or at least that's what he thinks.
All right, so what message does he have? Oh, go ahead.
What he's coming through right now, and he just wants you to he's saying he's showing me like you're in your car, just keep driving, just keep going. It's what he's showing me, like just keep going. So evidently you must be on a thought or in a transaction or something, and he's just saying just keep going with it. Just keep going with it. The way he's showing me, like, just keep driving like it's a Sunday drive. Just keep, like it's smooth, and just keep going with it. So you must be involved in something, like you're going to do something, or you're doing. I mean, of course, we're always doing something, but there's something big that you're involved in.
Yeah, I'm in a custody situation. It's horrible.
Okay. Okay. So he says, just keep driving. Just keep driving. So. And the way he's showing, this is why he's showing me the calmness. Just stay in the calmness of it, because he says you have nothing to fear, even though it feels like it. You have nothing to fear. And he says this is why I always show up, because you need somebody strong. So you need to know that there's somebody strong on the other side with you.
Did y'all hear those weird sounds, by the way? Maybe they're EVPs. Eric, is that EVPs or just whatever? Because
it's
last
not whatever, because I got right away. It's something, and I was trying to listen if I could hear what it was. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll have to have Ron Lederer analyze it. Maybe it's Stanley.
Do we know? Can Eric say if it's positive or negative?
Oh, where the sounds are coming from? Yeah.
Yeah. If it's influenced by an entity, if Eric has insight there.
It's not negative. Eric is like, he showed me it's close to the heart. So
okay.
It's not negative.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Wow.
I'll give Rob the details.
I was going to ask the caller if she knew where her what part of the chart her Taurus was in, where her sun sign was.
Well, I know I'm a rising Sagittarius. I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Because if you looked in so custody battles would involve the children. So there could be 5th house activity is child rearing, and then 7th house activity is like contracts and disputes, and like legal matters spills into the 8th house. So
yeah, my 8th house is full and my 5th house is full.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, then you'd want to look at the transits in the 5th and the 8th house to get a better sense of the energy that's going to govern the process.
Yeah, check in with Allan. Hook up with, contact him, and he could probably help you.
Allan Varah,
all right, well,
right?
Yeah, AllanVarah.com. And I'll put it on the description box when I make this into a YouTube. All right, Dee, good luck. We're praying for you, girl.
Thank you. Please tell my girl.
Ooh. Oopsie, I cut her off before she could finish. Okay, now we have somebody from the, come on, Wheel of Progress going around and around. The 914 area code. Hi there.
Hi.
Hey, who we got?
Hi, my name is Maria. This is a message from my husband, Gaetano, please.
Say that again?
My husband, Gaetano. Okay, give me a message from my husband.
Do you speak Spanish?
No, I'm Italian.
Italian, okay. Dan was his name?
Gaetano, Guy.
Oh, died. Okay, your husband. What's your husband's first name?
Gaetano. For short, I call it Guy.
Okay, Gaetano. Okay, I got it. Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead, Allan. That's fine.
No, I was gonna say my girlfriend speaks Italian. I could grab her if we need a translator.
Yeah.
I understand.
No.
Okay, that's fine. It's fine.
All right.
So what do you want? Do you want a message from your husband, Maria?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Simple enough, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Guy done.
So Eric is wanting me to let you know that when he's coming through, Eric is, and he's wanting you to know that your husband is doing well. He's showing me him being very playful. So I feel like his energy is there. So he must not have been very physically. He must have been depleted in a lot of areas because he's showing me very energetic, like he's just got a lot of energy. Yes, his stamina's back. Everything. He's doing that. He's very happy. Did your husband smoke?
In the beginning, when I was much younger, then
because he's showing me. Because he's telling me he doesn't smoke.
No,
okay.
So that tells me, because evidently he smoked when he was here, and that's why I asked, did he smoke? But he's showing me he still doesn't smoke. He's very healthy. He's very good. He wants you to. He's saying, do you reach out to people and let them know where you are, like how you feel, or when you're lonely or when you're sad? Because he's saying you need to reach out more to people, and you need to allow people to help you. You need to allow people to help you, because you're not allowing people to come in. And he says, open your door to people. Let them come in and help you. And he's saying he does come around you often, and he's showing me by a kitchen or like a window near the kitchen, and he wants you he's there. He's around you. So when you're in the kitchen, don't just be more conscious of yourself going into the kitchen, because he's showing me a smell of a food that you cook or that you make or something that he really likes. So just be more conscious of when you're walking in the kitchen.
What does he come to the window as a bird or a butterfly or just his presence
his presence is there, like but he's telling me you can feel his energy if you're conscious of it. Like when you're in there, to feel like he is there. He's like turning your head to look at certain things because he wants you to know.
Yes,
wow.
The other day I really like somebody really put something on top of my head. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Even
That's
I telling
cool.
my daughter, yes, that's it too.
All right. Well, okay, we'll be praying for you, Maria. Until next time, girl.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right.
God bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sure, sweetie.
You're
Open
welcome,
your heart
Maria.
and your doors to help. I know that's very difficult to do when you grieve. Okay, we have somebody from the 760 area code. Hi there. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for taking my call. This is G.
Hey, G.
Hey.
What you got for us?
Well, I was wanting to ask Allan a question. It's very resonant for me that you do the kind of work that you do, Allan, with astrology and help people with their calling, I guess you can say. And I was wondering if that's something you can quickly look for me.
Sure. What can I do for you?
Well, am I correct in seeing that you work with the question about life purpose or the reason that I'm here?
Yeah, so, the chart gives so many indications, but it does tell us our spiritual growth, and then it tells us some of our own struggles and human kind of journey, if you will. And, it takes a little bit longer because I would need to generate the chart to be very personal, but it is all there. If there's like a general question now, I can certainly try to field it. And if we wanted to get, kind of deeper into the chart, it would just take a little bit more time.
Yeah. Well, let me ask this: Eric, should she contact Allan and get her chart done?
Eric says that would give her another avenue, like another direction or another map on where to look, because he says that he's saying that it will help you to see things a little bit clearer, because it will help take out the it just helps clarify things, is what he's saying. It helps
the confusion, like Allan was talking about. Yeah.
Because Eric says it simplifies it.
Okay, Allan, you wanted to ask me something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, maybe just start with just a general idea of what the question is, and I can give you some generalities around it, maybe just some simple tools just while we're talking, and see if it resonates.
Yeah, no. I definitely want to go a little deeper than that. I mean, I'm constantly finding myself in situations that feel very disempowering in terms of generating income, and that's no longer. I mean, it really is. I'm at the line right now. And
Gotcha.
even though I keep repeating to myself, this is not right for me. This is not right for me. I can't continue to do this to myself just because, I have to, save myself. And, if I'm going from one job to another and all of a sudden an opportunity comes along and I have to grab it because I'm in scarcity. And it never, excuse me, it never works out where it's the right thing for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that is definitely, it's because it runs on a lot of levels. You have to look introspectively at what it is in your own being that has you moving from one to the next. And if there is a scarcity mentality, then the laws of attraction come into play, which is, as long as we continue to believe that there's not enough, we're going to end up behaving usually subconsciously in a way that reinforces that there's not enough.
Yeah.
And so, yes.
Although I'm a very optimistic person, I mean, there's a lot to say on that, and I'm trying to give you the abridged version.
Of course.
And I know that I could be a lot worse off in my thoughts and in my creation and manifesting abilities. I could be a lot worse off than I'm not. However, I'm looking more for the clarity in what my direction, and I feel I don't have a defined direction, and that makes me kind of feeling like I'm on a ship without a rudder. And I have to, constantly, grab at whatever is going to keep me from drowning.
So Eric or Allan, what is the next step for her? And then we'll go on to the next caller.
Yeah, I mean, the first step one is you generate the chart, and then you start to zero in on some of the choices that have been made that have brought her to where she is now.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes kind of, that becomes the introspective journey, just to start to see some patterns, and then from there it's like anything else.
Yeah, this sounds right. It really does. There's no coincidences that you are on this show and you got, picked from the studio board to talk to Allan. Not a coincidence.
I certainly appreciate that.
Maybe Eric probably nudged you like he does. All right, thank you, darling.
All right, sweetie. Thank you.
You bet. Good luck to you. Wow. Okay, now we have somebody from the 865 area code. Hey there, how are you doing?
Hey, good. This is Beth from Tennessee. How are you?
Hey, Beth. I'm good. What's up, girl? How are your gifts coming along?
I wanted to ask Eric. My dad passed away a month ago today.
Yeah. Okay.
So how is he
You want to
doing?
ask him for a message or?
Anything. Yeah.
What's your dad's name?
Eric says that.
Dennis.
Dennis, okay.
Dennis. Eric is telling me your dad is doing very well. The way Eric is showing me, he's like laying in a bed of velvet. So he's very comfortable. And the way Eric is showing me this, I don't know how your father's belief system was here, but I don't think he thought it was going to be this nice over there.
Oh,
and so
wow.
he's just really like immersing himself in this softness, in this the love, the unconditional love. Just, and Eric is saying the best way Eric can show me is like this velvet plush, like blanket type is what he's laying in. It's just so soft and gentle.
So he didn't see that one coming, right? He didn't see that coming, huh?
How was your father on this side? Did he have a belief system of what was on the other side?
We discussed it, and he did. He went to church and stuff like that in his later years. He didn't go to church while I was growing up, but we had talks about it.
Okay, good.
Well, Eric is wanting you to know that he is doing well, and I feel like if you haven't already, you're going to be contacted by your father, and this is an awakening moment for you, because this has really jarred you to somewhat in your life, and it's about you making some big changes in your life. I feel like your lifestyle and in your life going forward. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
All right. Beth, thanks for calling, and we'll try to take one more quick call. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Where am I? Did I already take this one before? The
Hello?
845 area code. Have I already taken you already? Oh,
no.
Okay, good. All right, good. I didn't mess up after all.
Thank you, Eric. My name is Katie, and I was wondering about a gentleman named Paul. If I'll hear from him again, if I should reach out, just anything.
A love interest?
I think it's a bit of love and possible work. I'm not really sure.
Okay, I don't want to run into the other show, Eric, so you're going to have to give the short version.
Eric
Sorry.
says he's going to contact you. Eric says he will contact you.
Wow.
Oh, fabulous.
Will that be? Maybe y'all should do
you.
your charts together. Oh, couples charts.
Wow.
And
see if
I
it'd
get
be,
soon. I get soon.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last part.
And it will be soon. It will be soon.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, maybe you need to find the information. I don't know if that's HIPAA laws involved in astrology or whatever. But yeah, you could just see work compatible, romance compatible, etc. That'd be interesting. So good luck, and I want you to keep us posted on that. Okay?
Thank you. I will. Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you so very much.
God bless you too, sweetie.
You're welcome, Katie.
Thank you. Much love. Thank you.
All right. Oh, she's got such a sweet, gentle voice. Oh,
I know.
All right. So you guys, AllanVarah.com, AllanVarah.com. He can change your life. Denise Ramon, DeniseRamon.com. She has changed my life, and I really appreciate her. And Eric is a wonderful voice for Eric. And Eric, I love you, sweetie. Yeah, love you always. Thank you, Allan, for.
I love you.
Thank you, Allan. Thank you, Denise. I love you both. Thank you so much for being on the show, and I look forward, Allan, to you being on the show in the future. And it's Arch Crawford, isn't it? ARCH Crawford.
Yeah, I sent it to you. Exactly.
My God! I just looked it up. Okay, good. I'm multitasking.
Oh, okay. So you found it also. Yeah. So I can't assume its accuracy because I never subscribed to it, but that was the one with the best reputation when I was looking into it.
Sounds great. All right. Thank you guys for joining our show
so much fun.
Next Tuesday.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you so
much.
Take
care, Allan.
All right, everyone.
Lisa.
Take care, Denise. Take care, Lisa. Yeah, ciao.
Bye.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys. Now he needs to go get some sleep. All right. Bye.